Two Chinese warships colliding in the South China Sea as they were chasing another vessel. Here's CNN's Mark Stewart with what led to this crash.
The Chinese Coast Guard ship was damaged, in fact, taking off part of its bow. At the time, you can see the waters appeared to be choppy, and at the time, 3 Chinese Coast Guard members were on the bow when the impact occurred. The South China Sea is a volatile piece of real estate, and what happened here had the potential to turn into something much worse. Let's watch the video together. You can see a Chinese warship collided with a Chinese Coast Guard ship while chasing some boats.
2 ships close in across dark waters. One a $100 million Chinese Coast Guard giant, the other a U.S. destroyer built for precision and restraint. At less than 200 meters apart, floodlights blind the bridge, water cannons lash the night, and every move is captured by sensors orbiting overhead.
At the time this all happened, according to an official, a high-ranking officer from the Philippine Coast Guard, they claim that they were trying to get some aid to some fishermen. But China has had a constant presence there for years. That's according to the Asia Maritime Transparency issue. It is important to stress that things could have worse. Now, here's the important context here. This happened in an area known as the Scarborough Shoal. It's something we've talked about before. It falls within the Philippines economic zone.
Was this a deliberate provocation, or the rehearsal for something much bigger? Stay with me, because this isn't just a clash of steel, it's the fight to define international law in real time. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
And as you can see there, the water is very choppy. At the time of this whole incident, 3 Chinese Coast Guard members were actually on the bow of the boat when the impact happened. I think you can see that in the video. There were some pictures. You saw a water cannon also being targeted with a water cannon. It avoided being hit. You see those images there.
A destroyer squares off with a massive ship twice its tonnage. One was built to crush fleets with precision missiles, the other to projectile with steel bulk and sheer persistence. On the surface that looks like an uneven matchup, but in truth the entire contest reduces to a single test: who can keep control when the water turns hostile. This is the story of a gauntlet that played out in the South China Sea.
And you will see this Chinese warship colliding with a Chinese Coast Guard ship. And I will tell you this, anyone who lives in this part of the world, we all know that the South China Sea is a very volatile part of real estate, and what happened here certainly had the potential to be much worse.
The USS Ralph Johnson carried 96 launch cells, each one able to hold guided missiles designed for long-range war. Every cell represented a strike potential, a silent arsenal waiting beneath the deck. Arrayed against it, China pushed forward the CCG-3901, an enormous law enforcement cutter valued at $100 million, backed up by a smaller escort vessel. The Chinese platform was built not for missile duels but for intimidation runs, collision threats, and endurance on patrol. One had lethal reach, the other had the audacity to close to near-touching range. That imbalance created a paradox. The American destroyer had weapons so destructive they could never be used in this kind of face-off, not without war erupting. The Chinese ships operated with tools designed for constant pressure, water sprayed at fire hose strength, blinding beams breaking a crew's vision, hull mass forcing evasive turns. It was a meeting between the fist you cannot raise and the shove you cannot ignore. Inside the Ralph Johnson, over 320 sailors were on station. Trained, drilled, conditioned to work as one body. Every order passed through a chain of command designed to prevent error even at midnight in tight waters. Across the channel stood around 150 men. Coast Guard crew issued commands crafted not for combat kills but for spectacle, for proof that foreign warships could be pushed and herded like intruders. Each sailor knew they served a role beyond themselves, one side under strict restraint, the other told to force a performance of dominance. The first approach came at speed. Chinese hulls closed in at roughly 19 knots, fast enough that each minute cut down safe margin to seconds. Floodlights from the lead vessel ignited the night, a wall of white blasting the destroyer's bridge. Navigation crews stared into a glare calculated to disorient. Then the water began to hammer, mounted cannons ejecting torrents, over 10,000 liters every 60 seconds smashing across deck and tower. Imagine fighting not a missile but a horizontal waterfall slamming into sensitive gear, human eyes, and open hatches. Yet the American bridge didn't flinch. Courses were held steady even as spray battered steel and sent sheets rolling across radar panels. The captain's tool was not the missile bay but the helm itself, slow minor shifts, precision turns, calculated distance. All the while, miles above, another set of eyes tracked the duel. A P-8 Poseidon aircraft drew circles in the night sky, its sensor arrays collecting every signal bounced off radar, every infrared signature of engines, every movement recorded to a digital net spread out through allied networks. What the human eye saw as blinding beams and pounding water, the digital eye saw as evidence delivered in real time to commanders continents away. Why would China draw so close, reducing separation to roughly 180 meters, a distance that within seconds could close to collision? This was not random recklessness. It was precedent. Each maneuver pushed the idea that foreign ships must yield, that one nation alone dictates terms in waters crisscrossed by shipping lanes vital to global trade. The tactic was not about victory in one night but normalization of control. If Coast Guard hulls could impose presence unchallenged, then control of sea routes shifts silently one encounter at a time. The twist came in how the American vessel answered. Not with missiles, not even with aggressive ramming, but with restraint. Ralph Johnson fired back, using discipline itself. Wheels held course, sensors documented every spray of water, every near approach recorded with precise data points. That digital audit disarmed coercion more than any counterblast could have. Because once evidence was broadcast, the act no longer belonged to one ship against another, it stood exposed to a global community weighing lawful right against unlawful force. The gauntlet ended without a strike exchanged, but not without outcome. The destroyer's crew proved that the greatest weapon at their disposal was not the missile hatches but the human ability to remain calm when provoked, to match aggression with duty, and to record truth under blinding assault. The lesson was visibility and training, not destruction. So now the question comes to you. Was the 180-meter near miss a reckless provocation, courting disaster? Or was it a lawful act of enforcement from a coastal power asserting jurisdiction? Comment your choice below. The gauntlet was never about who could launch missiles or ram hulls harder. It was about control. The destroyer and the Coast Guard ship showed two models of power, one built on fear of escalation, the other on constant pressure in tight waters. In modern clashes, the deadliest weapon is discipline. Proof captured by sensors, credibility earned by restraint. These carry more weight than steel or warheads in a sea crowded with allies, traitors, and rivals. The lesson is clear. Data and restraint shape victory. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict.